Hello, everybody, and welcome back to In Full Swing with Conor McGilligan. How are you doing? How am I doing? I'm doing all right. It's my third video of the day. I need to lie down. I've done 3 interviews today as well, 2 for the channel, 1 for my uni work, and I am tired. I'm not going to lie. I need a break again. I need to stop whinging about being tired. But, guys, I just am. But we're going to keep providing you Leeds United content every single day, and Let's get into this again. We're going again, and this time we have got a late night Leeds at 6:30. We haven't done 7 o'clock because I've got a meal tonight, so I've had to pull it forward a little bit. And yeah, let's go. We're going to do a little bit of a detailed one on Liam Cooper, Captain Coops, and his career, his progression at Leeds United, which has been absolutely monumental, and for me, probably the most improved out of everyone, and someone with a really good story. Now, if you are tuning in, please like the video, subscribe if you will. We're nearly at 6K. We've got 95 subscribers before this video left before 6K. So if you are new, please hit that subscribe button, that like button. I'm sure you're absolutely sick of my face. I can understand that. But let's get into Liam Cooper and his progression. Liam Cooper and the Premier League. So, Liam, what a start he had and what an end he's had at Leeds, and it's going to be continuing to be absolutely brilliant, I presume. Now, he started at Hull City. Look at him there, prepubescent and looking like he's, I think they were playing Crawley at this point as well. And yeah, just never looked like he wanted to be there, did you, Liam? No, but he started off at Hull with great promise. He was an unused sub versus Wigan Athletic when they lost 2-1 in the Premier League. But he actually made his first appearance. And guys, if you can get it in the comment section below, that would be absolutely incredible. If you could get it in the comment section below, who did Liam Cooper make his debut against? Let me know in the comment section below. If you get it, I'll be really impressed. If you get it without Wikipedia in it, I'll be very impressed. We'll go 3, 2, 1. Guys, it was against Liverpool. Liverpool was his first game in the Premier League. I believe he started as well, did Liam. Liverpool beat Hull City 6-1 at Anfield. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything at all. So I know what you're thinking. Doesn't matter. His first game in the Premier League at Anfield, Liverpool, 6-1. Didn't matter. Doesn't matter. Ignore that. But yeah, no, listen, he started his career. So he's actually made Premier League appearances before. But yeah, it's one of those where Liam grew and grew and grew, as you can see here, just in his Hull City top right at the start with his water bottle looking about 15 there. But I think he was actually 16, 17 there, and didn't spend as much time at Hull City. Obviously, I think it was 2 or 3 seasons. He was loaned out to Chesterfield as well, and then he was bought. And I think Paul Cook said he was absolutely ecstatic when they bought Liam Cooper. Obviously, Chesterfield at a lower level, but even at that moment in time, there were a lot of Championship clubs, there were a lot of lower league, Premier League clubs apparently touting Cooper at that moment in time. So his potential has always been there for everybody to see, Liam Cooper. But he's had highs, he's had a lot of lows, but he's got a fantastic story that I think needs to be sort of told. Now, he was brought into Leeds, and this has been his tenure at Leeds. Not only has he been brilliant at Leeds, but look at the longevity. Look at everything he's had to deal with. I believe he was brought in at about the same time as Gitano, and 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. He's had an absolutely impressive career in terms of tallies. And this is the important thing with this Leeds side now. We've got Dallas, we've got Bamford, we've got, well, not so much Bamford, but as in terms of longevity. But we've got Dallas, Cooper, Ayling, who've been there for such a long period of time now that we've got that sustenance. We've got that hardcore. We've got Berardi as well, who've been there for so long now. They know what it means. They bleed Leeds, every single one of them. And that's what you want in any side. You look at Sheffield United going into the Premier League, and that's exactly what they did. It's all about longevity. Now, he signed for Leeds United with Billy Sharp, and he played for this man, Pep Guardiola. Pep signed him for Leeds, and no, I'm joking. Listen, Dave Hockaday, I saw an interview with him the other day, and I actually felt sorry for him. It seemed like he was made a lot of the scapegoat. I don't know if he actually wanted that Leeds job. He was always an assistant manager at lower league clubs, and he didn't help but feel sorry for him on that interview. He went through a lot of problems psychologically after that. And, if you are watching Dave, which I presume you're not, but I hope everything is good in your life, mate. And, it was a bad time for Leeds. It was an awful time to be Leeds. And this is where Cooper's career started. He came in 14-15, and this is where the development of Liam started. He's seen a lot of lows, but he's seen highs as well. Now, his partner in the first season majority, and we'll get onto two left footers and what they mean in the side in general in a bit, but this was his partner. Here he is. God. I mean, at Leeds, Jason Pearce was horrendous. He was awful. And I apologise if there's a lot of you who, maybe he wasn't horrendous. He just wasn't up to that calibre for me. And you see him now playing in the Championship. Did play in the Championship, although League One now with Charlton. But he was never up to the grade. I don't think he ever did well with the pressure. And I think a lot of that team buckled under the pressure. Playing for Leeds United, Scott Wootton, Belushi, Sol Bamba even, they buckled under the pressure of putting that white shirt on. And I think Jason Pearce was one of those who just could not handle the magnitude of putting on that historic shirt and absolutely buckled under pressure. So this is the sort of start of Liam Cooper's. He's been brought in at Leeds. And at Hull in that period, it was actually going quite well. Obviously, Premier League, then they were relegated. But the standard of play, Curtis Davis, I believe Maguire was there then, or he'd just come in from Sheffield United. The standard of centre-backs was very good. So obviously him moving to Leeds at that point in time, where it was transition all the time with defenders and managers, he really struggled to make a name for himself. And he really struggled to get consistency, not only with managers, but with defenders as well. His defensive partners were changed almost every 6 months. And it was a real bad period to be a Leeds fan. And we'll just have to wait and see in the future if he does have that sustenance with the defender. And I think we obviously will do, because we're in a completely different period now. But just look at this side, and this is the sort of side that we saw 6 months or 5 months before Cooper's arrival at Leeds. And this is what they were playing with. This is this was McDermott, but the Warnock, obviously, I believe he was just after that. I can't remember, guys. Might have been just before that. But look at this team. Look at this spine. Pearce obviously was still there. I think Zaliukas was still in the lineup as well. Look at that bench. Look at that team. This was 6-0 demolition when Wednesday just tore us apart. And this is what Liam had to work with. It was getting in. There was no sort of reliability. There was no sort of sustained team. There was nothing there. It was all fragmented, and it wasn't a team, it wasn't a unit like it is today, and the struggle was real back then. It really was, and you could feel like, how are you going to develop as a centre-back? A lot of us would criticise him. The term League One Liam was thrown around like no tomorrow. I wasn't his biggest fan at all, and I'll be brutally honest, I'll be transparent. I wasn't his biggest fan. I didn't think he could get up to this level. And, if any of you did back then, fair play to you. But I think there was a large percentage of Leeds fans who, in periods gone by, would have liked to have seen Cooper go on. It would have been happy with him leaving. That whole Monk era, which we'll get into in a little bit, it was Bartley Jansen. Cooper barely featured. And obviously Berardi was still on the cards there. So we had sort of 4 centre-backs there. So one of them was going to go. Didn't happen at the end because it came to an end with Gary Monk. But we'll get onto that in a bit. But it was a real constant change. And it was one of those where he really did struggle. But as I say, the consistent. This is the sort of team a little bit later on down the line. Cooper making regular appearances, and as I said before, Pearce being his partner. But then we had the emergence of Wootton at the back and Bamba and the guy at the bottom, who I know a lot of you guys will know everything about, Belushi. And Leeds just weren't able to get him a partner who was able to bring his game up. And obviously Cooper didn't have that relationship with any centre-back partnership. Bamba, Belushi, Wootton, Pearce. They weren't at the Championship level to at least challenge for the playoffs, or at least challenge for the top 10. They were so mediocre. And the changes at Leeds, you could see even Pearce, when he played for Lee Bowyer's side, just the consistency of Lee Bowyer brought him on another level. And that is a massive thing with footballers. It's consistency, not only on the pitch, off the pitch as well. And with managerial decisions like there were at Leeds, switching like hotcakes, we weren't able to get that. And Liam clearly felt the brunt of that. So yeah, and this is how many managers as of 2018, Leeds United have had 37 full-time managers. This is what I saw just on a bit of a stat. There have been 9 caretaker managers, 3 of whom have previously occupied the role of full-time basis, and 1 of whom has occupied the role 3 times. I think Cooper must have experienced at least 6 or 7 of those, maybe even 8. I don't know, but it was a coherent theme that he just couldn't get. There wasn't it wasn't a good time. Let's be honest. If we're branching it over, when Cooper was here in the early stage, it was an awful time to be a Leeds fan and not a good time at all. There was no aspirations, no ambitions, no promise, nothing really. And the only sort of prodigies we had coming through and being part of the team was the youth: Cook, Byram, Taylor, Mowat. That was it. There was nothing else. There was no real hope. GFH, Ken Bates, Chilino. Chilino brought it around a little bit, but it was still toxic. So he's been there really as through thick and thin. Now, the second sort of part of it is always going to be his mistakes. Now, this isn't something you can gloss over. I'm sorry. It's nice to look at it now and think to yourself, oh, well, okay, he's never, there's no point in touching on that now, but it wouldn't be a Liam Cooper profile if it wasn't for early mistakes. Now, I've been to many away games in the past where Cooper has made a couple of mistakes and it's cost Leeds big time. He's never had a really good relationship with Cardiff, as we'll get onto in a little bit, but with the highs come the lows as well. And that makes this story even better when we talk about the lows. Now, this was one of his biggest sort of errors. I thought, we're sort of in the game at this point. I mean, look at that sort of tackle. Would you get Liam Cooper making mistakes like that under Marcelo Bielsa? This was actually under TC at Cardiff, and this kind of lost us the game. We're sort of in it. I think this is the Click game where Click was pretty poor as well. And this wasn't Cooper's fault, of course. It wasn't the whole game. Leeds losing the entire game, but this didn't help very early on. And Cooper, this is sort of the rashness he had in his game. This is sort of another one I'm going to pull up. This was actually given as a penalty, and I believe it was Bristol City I think that's Jonathan Codger. And it was just this sort of dive-in aspect that he had to his game. He had a lot of diving in. If he was struggling, he'd pull a player down or he'd dive in. And this was sort of the remit of his play. And only since Bielsa has come in, we've seen a massive change in how he plays. This was obviously, I believe this was in the Christensen era again. Obviously, Millwall came to town, a massive game, and looked straight away there in the 37th minute, a rash tackle, a straight red for Cooper, leaving us no chance. And Leeds were fighting for it again. This was under the Monk era, I believe. I can't remember who this was against, but Cooper with another red card there. And obviously, this is just a big image of him walking off at Cardiff and just having that sort of gaunt look. The managerial staff look at TC, looking at him straight in the face there. And that was what he had for a long period of time. I don't think he ever had the trust of the management staff. I don't think he had a trust of the fans, to be quite frank, including myself. I will always throw myself in because I'm not going to be dishonest. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm going to be straight up. I'm not just going to say fans thought this, fans thought that. I'm going to be transparent with all of you. I didn't think he was good enough. And these mistakes didn't help my thought processes. They really didn't. And I was completely wrong. He is good enough. But someone like Bielsa coming in and doing what he's done to so many players is something we could never have foreseen. We could never have foreseen at all. And would Cooper, Dallas, Ayling be at that level if it wasn't for Bielsa? No, the likelihood is no. So looking at Cooper back then, it wasn't a good period for the club. It wasn't a good period for your man Cooper. So, and I think then obviously I wanted to sort of talk about the Gary Monk saga. Now, this is where the character building of Cooper starts. Now, with Gary Monk, obviously, when he came in, it was clear from day one that he wasn't interested in Liam Cooper. He wasn't interested in having him as a left-sided centre-back, which I'll get onto in a little bit, how important having a left-sided centre-back is. Wasn't interested, wanted to bring Bartley in from his obviously Swansea experience, bring Carl Bartley in, and Pontus Jansson, who obviously they brought in earlier on in that term, as well as Pablo Hernandez. So Jansson came in, Bartley came in, and it was evident from moment one that they were the back two. They were the strong 6'4", 6'5" leaders. And Leeds profited from a lot of set pieces, very good defensively that year, extremely good defensively. We just like going forward. Dakara, Roof on the wings never really worked. Obviously, the midfield never really worked as well. Wood was brilliant, but it didn't properly work. We had Green, Bartley, Jansson, and then sort of Wood, and everything in between was a little bit disjointed. And I think the big takeaway was Cooper and how he was on the bench for the majority of that period. Now, if I was Liam Cooper at that point, I'd be quite defeatist, and maybe that's a personality trait of mine. But how strong he is, what a leader he is, what a character to come back from that and keep fighting, keep training your hardest. When you need to come in, when you're called on by a manager who clearly doesn't favour you, you will always come in and you'll always do a job and always give 110% for Leeds United. And at that moment in time, we had 4 centre-backs, including Berardi, who didn't really properly play centre-back. But it looked like Cooper's days were numbered. It really did. It looked like his days were completely numbered at Ellen Road, completely numbered at Leeds. And a lot of fans at that moment in time were happy with that. You know, they were completely happy with that. We're going to do one of these on Patrick Bamford very, very soon. And I'll be transparent as it comes. I ain't going to be lying. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about my thoughts on him, how my thoughts have changed, how I was wrong. And I was wrong about Liam Cooper as well. It was just an opinion at the time, and I think a lot of fans shared that opinion. But Cooper has proved so many people wrong. And Gary Monk was definitely one of those. And as you can see there, even in that article there, Liam Cooper for the Axe, Kyle Bartley and Pontus Jansson, I believe that ended with the centre-back partnership that Monk wants for the season. And that continued. Now, this is the period where I thought it'd be very, very good to bring up the Lamrani quote, the Salim Lamrani quote on Liam Cooper. Now, we were just talking there about character and a general and a leader and a captain and Liam Cooper in the Premier League and what we need. You look at Sheffield United, you look at Basham, you look at Egan, O'Connell, all these sorts of players. You look at Wolves, you look at Willy Bolly, you look at Conor Cody, you look at Ruben Neves, players who have been there for a while now, who take that fabric and bring it into the Premier League and keep that core that have been there for a while now, and we just sprinkle bits. Liam Cooper is the ultimate core. He's right in the middle of that core and leading Leeds to everywhere. And his passion and how he's grown as an individual is absolutely impeccable. It's inspirational as well. And Lamrani's quote just summed that up. Liam Cooper has been at Leeds United for more than 4 years, and he's the emblematic captain. In times of turmoil, he always shows the path by assuming his responsibilities as a leader and by distilling the necessary energy to raise the team's morale. On the other hand, in the moments of glory, he prefers to step back and temper the enthusiasm of his mates and remind them the difficulty of the coming challenges. One day, Liam had the behaviour of great mobility. Just before our weekly reading session, which happened at the gym, an activity that I proposed to the team since the pre-season, he came to see me to ask if, exceptionally, he could stay in the medical room in order to receive some treatment at the same time. He did not need any authorisation at all for this, but he had the courtesy for my agreement. The expression and consideration and respect for the others explains why he's an example to this team. And it's just such a perfect quote from Salim in terms of just his leadership, his respect, his aura around the club, and how in a different time he could have been one of the leaders of this club in the Premier League. And hopefully going forward, he will be that leader. I've always thought he needs a partner next to him to improve his game, but that partner will also need to improve their game via Liam Cooper, which we saw from Ben White this year. Monk never gave him that capability to improve, never gave him that trust. Whereas now this has developed into what he is today. It just shows the capability and the potential that that young lad at the moment in time had. And Bielsa, thank God for Bielsa, and he's just seen everything that. I just think it's just such an inspirational story. And then he got his Scotland call-up. Which was a big deal for Cooper. He spoke about it numerous times, how proud he was, and the emergence of a bit more confidence. And I don't know whether or not that Scotland call-up gave him that confidence. And you could just see that now he's an international. He's a fully fledged international. The doubters, Monk, amongst others who haven't played him consistently, are now eating the words. The fans, everybody who's turned against him, the League One Liam thing, that's all going against him because now he's a Scotland international. The tide is turning with Liam, and he was getting better. Pinpoint tackles. He was making opponents on edge, and it wasn't rash anymore. It really wasn't rash. It wasn't stupid tackles that were completely out of kilt and didn't need to happen early on in the game. And he wasn't becoming so much of a liability. He was growing in confidence. He was taking a step back. He was letting the attacker come at him. Then he was nicking the ball. He was nicking ahead every single time. He wasn't just making that rash tackle, which took the defender out of the game and gave the referee a decision to make. He didn't do that anymore. That started to change. And then the emergence in 2018 of God, of the man who changed football, changed everything at Leeds United. And this was a big change for Liam Cooper, a huge change for Liam Cooper. And, you know, we started seeing the emergence of a right-footed centre-back and a left-footed centre-back. It wasn't left-left. It wasn't Pearson Cooper. It wasn't Bartley and Janssen, right, left. It was a right and a left-footed player. So we had a balance across the back line. We had a balance looking forward. We had a balance and a coordination looking across the back four. And it gave every single time Leeds looked more open, we looked more expansive. We looked like we could make those crossfield balls, which our right-sided player did and our left-sided player did. Crossfield balls that you do, Liam Cooper, the song rings round Ellen Road consistently. And Leeds became an impressive team with Cooper. And, you know, even Janssen in that starting lineup, and Leeds' defence sort of changed a little bit. Now, there's a massive importance with having a left-footed centre-back at the back, and I always talk about this. Milan's European Cup win in 1990 featured Franco Baresi left side and Alessandro Costa Curta right. Marseille's 93 triumph saw Marcel Desailly left and Basile Boli right take centre stage. Ajax's 16 featured Frank de Boer left, Danny Blind right. Now, this is something which is obviously, you know, on a different level, but that partnership, that balance, that cohesiveness between a right-footed and a left-footed centre backs. When the goalkeeper rolls it out, they can always go onto they can always expand the body, open the body out, and play forward. They're not cutting inside every time and going back to the keeper. It's on your back foot. It's moving the ball out. It's getting you playing quicker. It's getting you playing more confident from the back. And it's open, as I keep saying, it's expansive football. Bielsa brought that, and he wanted that consistency of a right footer and a left footer. No more right, no more left. You see it with Aymeric Laporte now. If Company would have had a period with Aymeric Laporte, I do not think that Man City would have had the problems at the back if they'd have both stayed fit. And you look at someone like Vertonghen as well. Vertonghen and Alderweireld in that partnership in the Premier League when they were absolutely brilliant in their prime as a left-footed, right-footed under Pochettino, who's had the guidance of Marcelo Bielsa. And you see that remit coming down. Always a left-footed, always a right-footed. And Cooper started to grow. He started to grow. You started seeing it in his play. There was a bit of an arrogance. There was a bit of a cockiness in his first season in terms of just he's assured. He looked physically better. He was fitter. He was sort of more pragmatic in how he played. And he just, everything about him exuded a level of self-assurance that helped Leeds from moment 1 to moment 90 on and off the pitch. Now, last season, there was issues for me. There was still issues, and you'll have seen it in a lot of my post-matches, but there was still issues with Liam Cooper. I still thought he was sometimes a little bit rash, not in terms of tackles, but in terms of decision-making. There was a couple of big games last year. One that sticks out to me was always Sheffield United. I thought there was a period against Sheffield United where it could have gone either way, and we needed assured heads. We needed sensible heads, and I thought Liam lost his head a little bit against Billy Sharp. Billy Sharp, obviously, for that Basham goal, the ball was bouncing around, got the better of Liam Cooper. And as you can see, this led to Basham's goal. And obviously, the chaos ensued with Kiko Casilla a little bit later on down the line. But this is the period where he was turning a lot of opinions in terms of positives. And he'd done so well during that season, so well. So you can't hound him for a mistake. But you did wonder, is there still that big game mentality problem with someone like Cooper and the team? Not just Cooper, the team. It wasn't just him. You know, I questioned it at the back end of last season when we came into this season. At the start, we lost down at Millwall. Why do we always lose at Millwall? What is it about Millwall losing to Charlton? What is it with? Why can we not win in Luton? Is it a mentality problem? What is it? You know, daft things like away at QPR. And it was just. You did question a little bit the mentality, but throughout the season, the second season under Bielsa, that just turned dramatically, a cataclysmic turn. And it was brilliant to see, and such a development, not only in Cooper, but in the squad. And I thought this exuded, obviously, from Liam Cooper. But let's take it back a little bit. Let's take it back a little bit to one of the worst games we can think of, and that was Derby County. Now, Derby County in the semi-finals wasn't a good period. It was an awful game, and I'll probably remember it for the rest of my life, just in terms of harrowing experiences. We're in a brilliant position now. But if someone was to ask me, Connor, what's one of the worst experiences you've ever had at Ellen Road? That is one of them that I will, happily talk to them about in terms of just bad memories. Not happily talk to them about, that's the wrong phraseology, but you get what I mean. Just in terms of poor things I've seen. Cooper and Casilla, obviously the mistake, which made it 1-1. There was a lot of question who you'd blame there. I still blame Casilla for that. I just do. The erratic. There was a communication problem clearly there. Let's not go into that too much. But obviously Cooper bringing down Mason Bennett for the penalty, and there was still not problems there, but there was still a little bit of issues in terms of his capability with the big game situations for me. There was still problems. I wasn't fully confident, but this then saw the revamp of Liam Cooper this year, and the revamp and the partnership of Cooper and Ben White. Now, a lot of people will talk about Ben White and talk about everything he's done for Leeds and the development of him and how he's been the best centre-half we've seen. But would Ben White be anywhere near as good without Liam Cooper? No chance. No chance. I'm not having it. If he was that good, Brighton wouldn't have loaned him out. They'd have played him in the Premier League alongside Lewis Dunk. They didn't. They loaned him out again to Leeds. Loaned him out for the third time, by the way, to another club. Came to Leeds, and we saw it in him. We'd been tracking him for 2 years. We knew what Ben White was about. But Cooper, interestingly, was quoted as saying he was very, very nervous in his first couple of games and didn't feel that he could make that step up, that he could deliver for Leeds United, which is a completely different level of delivering for Brighton, delivering for Peterborough, and delivering for Newport. So that level of expectation went through the roof, and Cooper simmered him down. And you could see Cooper's composure, his calmness, his assurance with having that capable centre-back next to him who he could rely on. I felt a lot of Cooper's rashness was because he didn't thoroughly rely on the person next to him. That person might have been out of position. Cooper went to recover and he didn't quite get it right. And you saw that a lot with Cooper, that is Bamba, Belushi, Pearce, Janssen, whoever would be out of position. We saw it against Brentford last season when Morpay exploited Janssen twice. Cooper was trying to recover, was trying to make those last-ditch tackles, and you saw that consistently. Bamba away at Cardiff, I remember that as clear as day. Cooper was trying to recover for his mistakes, or was trying to recover from the left-back's mistakes. It was always him trying to recover people's mistakes, and he got it wrong on a couple of occasions. There's a lot of occasions where he got it right, and we don't talk about that when we're talking about Cooper's mistakes, but we talk about it when he got them wrong, because they can be pivotal moments in matches. But it all started to grow. You saw it with Ben White. The relationship just started to prosper. And of course, the most important goal of the season away at Brentford. Leeds capitulated at Forest. Forest deserved that win down at the City Ground, 2-0. And it was a bad spell for Leeds. Luke Ayling looked completely dejected, and Leeds looked like they had no answer. And you sort of started to worry at that point, is this where we fall again at the key hurdle, at the critical hurdle? And we didn't. We kept going. And Liam Cooper's goal at Brentford was arguably the most important goal of the season for me. It was massive, up there with Pablo, gave the team confidence, and we should have ran away with that game against Brentford. It was one of the only games I've seen against Brentford where any team took control. We were absolutely dominant. Barnsley did it to him recently in sort of the last game, but Leeds were brilliant that game. And then you look at his stats. Look at this now. Now, could you have seen this with Liam Cooper 4 or 5 years ago? Passing, very strong. Aerial duels, strong, especially for his size. I mean, he's what, 6'1"? He's not 6'4", 6'5", and he's battled against defenders like Aidan Flint, Sean Morrison, Cal Bartley before, Pontus Jansson, Ethan Pinnock, and he always holds his own. You don't really see someone winning a one-on-one battle and scoring a goal against Liam Cooper. It doesn't happen. Ball interception, very strong. Has started reading the game exceptionally well. tackling very, very strong. And this is where the rashness has gone out of his game. The rashness, the inability to make tackles at the correct time. Steps off now, then makes the tackle. Don't need to rush into the tackle. You've got a capable man who's covering you. You make the tackle when you need to make the tackle. You've got so many fit players around you who can recover the ball. You do your thing. You focus on your man. And this is a lovely end point. Liam Cooper at the end with the trophy. Guys, that's it. That's been the Cooper Files. That's been Liam Cooper and the Premier League. Do I think he'll step up? 100%. I think he'll step up if it's with Ben White or if it's with Robin Koch. I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. We're going to nail 30 minutes. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It takes a long time to put these videos together, the research, the images, etc., etc. So please do me a solid. We're on the road to 6K. Hope you have a lovely evening, guys. Make sure, as I say, you stick your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you in a bit.